Hey everyone, I'm working to hit 1,000 subscribers, and I need your help to get there. If you enjoy the content, please hit that subscribe button right now. What's up, football fanatics? We've got some absolutely massive news coming out of Cleveland that's going to completely change how you think about Shedeur Sanders and his future with the Browns. This isn't just another routine press conference soundbite that gets forgotten 5 minutes later. This is one of the most respected offensive linemen in the entire NFL, a guy who's protected some of the best quarterbacks in the game, coming out and publicly endorsing a rookie quarterback in a way that's turning heads throughout the league. Bitonio, the Cleveland Browns veteran starting offensive lineman and absolute anchor of that offensive line, just dropped some comments about Shedeur Sanders that have everyone talking, and what he revealed about Sanders' progress, his pocket presence, and his leadership is going to blow your mind. Let's set the stage here because context is everything. The Cleveland Browns are coming off one of the most turbulent, drama-filled stretches of football you'll ever see. We've had sideline confrontations between Jerry Jeudy and Sanders that went viral. We've had Myles Garrett essentially declaring war on anyone who disrespects his young quarterback. We've had fans and analysts debating whether Sanders is the real deal or just overhyped because of his famous last name. The pressure on this kid has been absolutely immense, the kind of scrutiny that would break most rookies who are just trying to find their footing in the league. And through all of that chaos, through all of that drama and dysfunction and noise, Shedeur Sanders has been quietly going about his business, working with his offensive line, studying film, improving his craft, and apparently making such significant progress that one of the most veteran, most respected players on the entire team felt compelled to speak out about it publicly. And not just speak out with some generic, he's doing fine platitudes that don't mean anything. We're talking about specific, detailed praise that reveals exactly what's happening behind the scenes in Cleveland. Bitonio is not your typical NFL player who just shows up, does his job, and collects a paycheck. This is a guy who's been with the Browns since 2014, who's seen literally everything this franchise has thrown at him over the past decade. He's protected Baker Mayfield, Deshaun Watson, Jameis Winston, Joe Flacco, and now Shedeur Sanders. He's been through coaching changes, front office turnover, playoff runs that fell short, and seasons that were disasters from start to finish. When Bitonio speaks about a quarterback, it carries weight because he's got the experience and the perspective to know what he's talking about. So when Bitonio sits down for his media availability ahead of the Browns game against the Tennessee Titans and starts talking about Shedeur Sanders, everyone in that room is paying attention. And what comes out of his mouth is going to make every Sanders supporter feel completely vindicated and every doubter start questioning their position. Bitonio doesn't just say Sanders is doing okay or making progress. He gets specific about moments, about plays, about tangible improvements that show a quarterback who's developing rapidly and earning the respect of the men whose job it is to protect him. I mean that one drive where we were running the ball, I think we had 8 or 9 straight runs, and then he threw that ball to Njoku. Bitonio begins, immediately referencing a specific sequence that clearly made an impression on him. I think that was a big-time play. Like you have your chance, you've been running the ball, you take a shot, and he stepped up and made those plays. Think about what Bitonio is describing here. The Browns are in the middle of a drive, they're pounding the rock, running the ball 8 or 9 consecutive times, establishing physicality, wearing down the defense. Then comes the moment where the defense is completely keyed in on the run, expecting another handoff, selling out to stop it. That's when Sanders has to recognize the situation, understand the opportunity that's been created, and have the confidence to take a shot downfield to David Njoku. That's not just executing a play that's called for you. That's understanding game flow, reading defensive psychology, and having the guts to attack when the moment presents itself. Bitonio calling it a big-time play is significant because offensive linemen don't throw around that kind of praise lightly. They're in the trenches every single snap. They know when a quarterback makes something happen versus when they just get lucky. For Bitonio to specifically remember that sequence, to bring it up unprompted when talking about Sanders' development, that tells you it made a real impression on him. That tells you he saw a quarterback operating at a higher level than just a rookie trying to survive. But Bitonio doesn't stop there. He continues breaking down what he's seeing from Sanders, and every detail reveals more about why the offensive line is buying into this kid. I think he was taking the easy stuff. We had a lot of screens. It was windy and stuff. We had a lot of screens and short yardage plays that he was executing. Now, to some people, taking the easy stuff might sound like damning with faint praise, like saying Sanders can only handle the simple plays. But anyone who understands quarterback development knows that's actually one of the most important skills a young quarterback can demonstrate. Taking what the defense gives you, not trying to force throws that aren't there, executing the game plan even when it's not glamorous, that's exactly what coaches want to see from a rookie. That's maturity. That's discipline. That's putting the team first instead of worrying about your highlight reel. And the detail about the windy conditions is important too. Weather can absolutely wreck a passing game, especially for young quarterbacks who don't have years of experience adjusting their throws for wind. The fact that Sanders recognized the conditions and adapted his approach, focusing on screens and short passes that minimize the impact of the wind rather than trying to be a hero and chuck it deep anyway, that shows football intelligence and situational awareness. That shows a quarterback who's thinking about how to win the game, not just how to look good. Then Bitonio drops what might be the most significant comment of the entire interview, the one that really reveals how much progress Sanders has made in such a short time. I mean, his huddle presence, his ability to call the plays and get us on the same page, I think has improved over the last couple weeks. So it's been really good. Huddle presence. Think about what that means, especially for a rookie quarterback. You're walking into a huddle with guys who've been in the league for 5, 6, 10 years. You're calling plays to veterans who've seen every defense imaginable, who've played in playoff games, who've been part of winning organizations, and you've got to command that huddle, project confidence, make sure everyone knows their assignment, get everyone on the same page, all while the play clock is ticking and the defense is showing different looks. That's leadership under pressure, and it's something that usually takes years to develop. The fact that Bitonio specifically says this has improved over the last couple of weeks is incredibly revealing. That means Sanders came in rough around the edges, probably nervous, maybe too quiet or uncertain in those early practices and meetings. But instead of staying stuck at that level, instead of getting comfortable with being just okay, Sanders worked on it. He improved it. He got better at taking command, at projecting authority, at making sure his teammates are confident in him. And Bitonio noticed. The guys in the trenches noticed. That's how you earn respect in an NFL locker room. There's a moment in the interview where Bitonio catches himself and corrects something he said, and even that little slip is incredibly significant. I think has improved over the last couple years. So last couple weeks. He almost says couple years before catching himself and correcting to couple weeks. Now, some people might think that's just a simple verbal mistake, but think about what it reveals. Bitonio's brain almost went to years, because the amount of improvement he's seen from Sanders feels like the kind of development that normally takes years to achieve. The fact that it's actually only been a couple of weeks makes it even more impressive. This is a veteran offensive lineman who's seen countless quarterbacks develop over his decade in the league. He knows what normal progression looks like. He knows how long it usually takes for a rookie to start commanding a huddle, reading defenses, executing the game plan consistently. And what he's seeing from Shedeur Sanders is accelerated development, the kind of rapid improvement that separates the guys who have long careers from the guys who wash out after a few years. Now, the video commentator brings up an interesting point that adds another layer to this story. He mentions that earlier in the year, it seemed like Bitonio was really all in on Jameis Winston, that there might have been some concern about whether the offensive line would fully embrace Sanders. But these comments from Bitonio completely erase those concerns. This isn't lukewarm support or polite platitudes. This is genuine enthusiasm about the progress he's seeing, specific examples of why he's impressed, and a public endorsement that tells the rest of the team and the entire league that the offensive line is behind their rookie quarterback. That matters more than most people realize. Offensive linemen are the foundation of any successful offense. They're the guys doing the dirty work in the trenches, sacrificing their bodies to give the quarterback time to operate. When they believe in their quarterback, when they're willing to fight for him, that creates a level of protection and commitment that you can't coach or scheme. But if they don't believe in their quarterback, if they think he's not prepared or not capable or not worthy of their maximum effort, that shows up in subtle ways that destroy an offense. A block held for a split second less, a reach block that's just a little lazy, an assignment that's executed technically, but without the passion that makes the difference between good and great. Joel Bitonio, publicly praising Shedeur Sanders like this is essentially him telling the rest of the offensive line, this kid is legit, he's working, he's improving, and we need to protect him. That's going to resonate in meeting rooms and practice sessions in ways that fans never see but that absolutely impact performance on Sundays. When the veteran leader of your offensive line is bought in on your rookie quarterback, everyone else falls in line. That's how cultures shift and teams start believing they can build around someone. The timing of these comments is also significant because they come right before the Browns face the Tennessee Titans in what's being billed as one of the most watched games of the weekend. And the reason it's getting so much attention has nothing to do with playoff implications or division standings. It's because this is Shedeur Sanders' chance to continue proving himself, to show that the progress Bitonio is talking about translates to actual performance on the field, against a defense that's going to be keyed in on stopping him. Every rep Sanders gets from here on out is being evaluated through multiple lenses. The Browns are trying to figure out if he's their quarterback of the future or just a stopgap until they can draft someone else. Other teams around the league are watching to see if this is legitimate development or just a small sample size that will regress to the mean. Agents and general managers are taking notes on whether Sanders has what it takes to be a franchise quarterback or if the hype was overblown. And through all of that scrutiny, he's got his starting left guard publicly saying he's impressed with the improvement, the leadership, the decision-making. That's armor for a young quarterback. That's validation that what he's doing in practice, in film study, in those private conversations with coaches and teammates, is actually working. It's confirmation that people who know football, who've been around great quarterbacks and terrible ones, think he's got something special developing. And that kind of external validation can be rocket fuel for a competitor who's trying to prove himself at the highest level. But let's also acknowledge what Bitonio isn't saying, because sometimes what's left unsaid is just as revealing as what's actually spoken. He's not comparing Sanders to other quarterbacks he's protected. He's not saying Sanders is already better than Baker Mayfield or Deshaun Watson or anyone else. He's focusing entirely on Sanders' individual progress, on the trajectory he's on the improvements week to week. That's smart leadership from Bitonio, because he's not creating unnecessary drama or controversy. He's just stating facts about what he's observed, and those facts happen to be extremely encouraging for anyone who wants to see Sanders succeed. There's also something beautiful about the specific play Bitonio chose to highlight. The throw to David Njoku after 8 or 9 consecutive runs isn't a highlight reel play that's going to end up in Sanders' career retrospective. It's not a 60-yard bomb that has everyone going crazy on social media. It's a smart, situational throw that shows a quarterback reading the game, understanding when to attack, and executing when the opportunity presents itself. That's the kind of play that wins games even if casual fans don't remember it the next day. And the fact that Bitonio remembers it, that he brings it up as an example of Sanders making big-time plays, that reveals exactly what offensive linemen value in their quarterback. They don't need you to be a superhero on every snap. They need you to be smart, prepared, and willing to take your shots when the game presents them. They need you to execute the game plan, take care of the football, and put the team in position to win. And based on Bitonio's comments, that's exactly what Shedeur Sanders has been doing, while also rapidly improving the more subtle aspects of playing quarterback like huddle presence and command. The improvement in huddle presence is particularly significant because it speaks to confidence and belief, two things that are absolutely essential for quarterback success. You can have all the physical talent in the world, all the arm strength and accuracy and mobility, but if you don't believe in yourself and your teammates don't believe in you, you're not going to succeed at this level. The fact that Sanders' huddle presence has noticeably improved in just a couple of weeks suggests he's gaining confidence with every rep, every meeting, every conversation with coaches and teammates. He's starting to feel like he belongs, like he deserves to be in that huddle calling plays to NFL veterans. And that belief is translating to how he carries himself. There's also an interesting dynamic happening in Cleveland right now where different veterans are stepping up to publicly support Sanders in different ways. Myles Garrett defended him against disrespect and inappropriate behavior from Jerry Jeudy. Now Joel Bitonio is praising his development and improvement. These aren't coordinated PR moves. These are organic endorsements from respected veterans who've decided this kid is worth supporting, worth protecting, worth investing in. That's how you build a foundation around a young quarterback. That's how you create an environment where talent can develop into sustained success. The contrast between how Sanders is being received by veterans like Garrett and Bitonio versus how he was treated by Jerry Jeudy couldn't be more stark. The veterans who are focused on winning, who understand what it takes to build a successful team, who've been around long enough to recognize genuine talent and work ethic, they're all buying in on Sanders. The veterans who are worried about their own stats, their own egos, their own place in the pecking order, they're the ones creating drama and problems. That tells you everything you need to know about where the real leadership in that locker room resides. Looking ahead to the game against Tennessee, Sanders now has the public backing of one of the most important players on his offense. Bitonio's comments aren't going to make the Titans' defense any less aggressive or take away the pressure of performing on a big stage. But they do provide psychological support, confirmation that the work Sanders is putting in is being noticed and appreciated by the people who matter most. When you're a rookie quarterback trying to establish yourself, knowing that your offensive line believes in you and is impressed by your progress, that's incredibly valuable fuel. The commentator in the video mentions hoping that Bitonio's support translates to actual blocking on the field, and that's a fair point. Words are great, but performance matters more. However, the reality is that when offensive linemen genuinely believe in their quarterback, when they're impressed by his preparation and improvement, that absolutely does translate to effort on the field. Guys play harder for quarterbacks they respect. They fight through blocks a little longer. They maintain their technique even when they're exhausted. The connection between the line and the quarterback is one of the most important relationships on any football team, and Bitonio's comments suggest that relationship is developing exactly as it should. This story also highlights something important about how we evaluate quarterbacks, especially young ones. There's often so much focus on the big plays, the deep throws, the scrambles that end up on highlight reels. But the offensive linemen protecting those quarterbacks are often more impressed by the subtle stuff. The huddle command, the pre-snap adjustments, the willingness to take the short completion instead of forcing a big play. The ability to recognize when the defense gives you an opportunity to attack. Those are the skills that separate the flash-in-the-pan quarterbacks from the guys who have decade-long careers. Joel Bitonio, recognizing and praising those aspects of Sanders' game, suggests he sees a quarterback who's developing the right way, building the right foundation, focusing on the fundamentals that lead to sustained success rather than just trying to accumulate impressive statistics. That's incredibly encouraging for anyone who wants to see Sanders become a franchise quarterback rather than just another cautionary tale about hype exceeding substance. The fact that this improvement has happened in just a couple of weeks is also significant because it suggests Sanders is coachable. that he responds to feedback, that he's willing to work on his weaknesses rather than just relying on his natural talent. Huddle presence isn't something you fix overnight. It requires conscious effort, practice, probably some uncomfortable conversations where coaches and veterans tell you you're not commanding the huddle effectively. The fact that Sanders took that feedback, worked on it, and improved noticeably enough that the starting left guard felt compelled to mention it publicly, that shows maturity and work ethic that bodes incredibly well for his future development. As this season winds down and the Browns evaluate everything about their roster and their future, comments like these from Joel Bitonio are going to carry significant weight. The front office and coaching staff are going to want to know what the veteran leaders think about Sanders, whether they believe he can be the guy moving forward. Bitonio's public endorsement, his specific examples of improvement, his genuine enthusiasm about Sanders' development, that's going to factor into those conversations and decisions in major ways. So, there you have it, the complete breakdown of Joel Bitonio's absolutely stunning praise for Shedeur Sanders and what it means for the rookie quarterback's future in Cleveland. This isn't just a veteran being polite about a young teammate. This is genuine recognition of significant progress, specific examples of why that progress is impressive, and a public endorsement that tells the entire organization and the entire league that the offensive line is buying in on their rookie quarterback. That's exactly what Sanders needed as he continues his development, and it's one more piece of evidence that maybe, just maybe, the Browns have finally found their quarterback of the future. What do you think about Joel Bitonio's comments? Is this proof that Shedeur Sanders is developing faster than anyone expected? Or is it too early to make any definitive judgments about his future? How important is it for a rookie quarterback to have the public support of veteran offensive linemen? Drop your thoughts in the comments below because I want to hear from all of you about how you're reading this situation. If you found this breakdown valuable and want to see more content covering Shedeur Sanders and the Cleveland Browns, make sure you absolutely smash that like button right now. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and turn on those post notifications so you never miss an upload, because we're going to be covering every development, every game, every comment that gives us insight into Sanders' progress and his future. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.